It's time for Lefties Losing It, and there has been much controversy among the humorless, joyless left because this alleged comic, Amber Ruffin, has been removed as the headline act for the White House Correspondents Dinner, a tragedy for comedy.
Let's get back to the monologue. During the Houston Astros World Series victory parade on Monday, Senator Ted Cruz was reportedly hit with a beer can in the chest and neck. It missed his spine because he doesn't have one.
Oh dear, and she's not only painfully unfunny, she's also a lefty losing it who intended to use the occasion to grandstand.
You're kind of a bunch of murderers. I mean, so like they were like, you need to be, equal and make sure that that you give it to both sides and blah, blah, blah. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be freaking doing that, dude.
Murderers. And speaking on the podcast you saw there, a far-left clown site, The Daily Beast, Amber Ruffin revealed just what a nasty lefty she is, saying Republicans are not even human.
I think it's just that burns on Trump hurt badly. And then it trickles down to everyone who's around him, because y'all also guilty. So I think they got their feelings hurt. And they want that false equivalency that the media does. They want that. It feels great. It makes them feel like human beings. But They shouldn't get to feel that way because they're not.
Some people are more culpable than others.
That's right.
And they get more jokes made about them, and the jokes are meaner.
And of course, the miserable, joyless ladies of The View thought that last line was hilarious. Look at the immediate reactions here when they played the clip.
It makes them feel like human beings, but they shouldn't get to feel that way because they're not.
Charming. Think they all need psychological help, but just not from this next lady who claims to be a psychologist. And she has this important question for Americans.
Genuine question for Trump supporters and supporters of Musk and RFK. I'm just asking a genuine, honest question for you. Is there anything at all that they could do to lose your support at this point?
Yes, if Trump, Musk, RFK, any of them appear with a septum ring, I'm going to assume that they have lost their minds and disregard anything they have to say. That's all it's going to take. Let's go back to The View and watch here as the ladies nod along like unthinking idiots as this lefty, Ellie Mistal, claims that no law passed before 1965 should be respected.
My premises for the book is that every law passed before the 1965 Voting Rights Act should be presumptively unconstitutional, right? But because before the 1965 Voting Rights Act, we were functionally an apartheid country. Yeah. Not everybody who lived here could vote here. So why should I give about some law that some old white man passed in the 1920s, like the Immigration and Nationality Act?
Now, we will get to Cory Booker's descent into madness shortly, but first, the polling for the Democrats continues to hit new lows. We are now looking at 21% approval ratings for Democrats in Congress. Here is CNN.
Holy Toledo. Voters' views of the Democrats in Congress among all voters disapprove 68%. And look at the approved number, just 21%, even lower than the Democratic Party at large. This is the lowest on record for Democrats, according to Quinnipiac University polling. You think these numbers are bad? Let's go to this side of the screen. We'll look how Democratic voters feel. Get this. The plurality of Democratic voters disapprove of Democrats in Congress at 49%, and just 40% approve. Horrible, horrible, horrible.
Joining me now is host of a new program, Spot On with Link Lauren on Megyn Kelly's network. Link, even the majority of Democrats do not approve of the Democrats in Congress.
Great to be back with you, Rita. This is because the Democrats have lost their darn minds. The Democrats are also choosing these ridiculous hills to die on. If you look at the data, 79% of Americans in a recent New York Times Ipsos poll, they tell you they do not want men and women's sports. So what do the Democrats do the next day? They go out and vote to keep men and women's sports. If you look at these polls, an overwhelming majority of Americans, they support mass deportations. They support deporting criminals. What do the Democrats do? They go go on TV and say, no, 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 we can't do these mass deportations. This is racist. This is xenophobic. So the Democrats are coming down on the wrong side of every single issue, and it's why people are leaving the Democratic Party in droves.
Well, you talked about the Democrats losing their minds. Here's another candidate. This is just incredible. Cory Booker talked non-stop for 25 hours. This is filibustering.
One of the top stupidest questions in America. You've gotten this question. I think you would agree with me. You're not the kind of guy that uses words like, hey, this is stupid, but this is stupid. The thing I heard, the stupid question.
Oh, yes, heroic there. You can see the applause from the other Democrats when he broke the record for the longest speech. Tell me why.
Well, I really couldn't tell you why Cory Booker is standing there for 25 hours running his mouth. But what I can tell you is if this is the best the Democrats have to offer, if this is the face of the resistance, I think the Republicans are going to be A-okay. Cory Booker wants to show he's an alpha. He's a masculine guy. You're standing there in an air-conditioned room talking about nonsense for 25 hours. This is not an alpha masculine guy. President Trump got shot in Butler, Pennsylvania on July 13th and stood up with blood streaming down his face saying fight, fight, fight. That is an alpha and an image of strength people can relate to. Cory Booker looked like a clown.
Well, part of the crisis facing the Democrats is that they are doubling it down on that leftist lunacy you mentioned, and part of that is attacking Elon Musk. I mean, these unhinged, demented, hate-filled attacks against Elon Musk, labelling him a Nazi, a threat to democracy. And sadly, it's backed by the media, some of this hysteria. And this is something Joe Rogan touched on recently.
Because right now they lost to Trump. They're in this scattered thing where they're trying to on everything he does, hide all the good stuff. You didn't hear a peep about Elon rescuing those people. That should have been on all of the news stories all day long. It should have been a huge national event. We're finally going to rescue the astronauts who are trapped in the space station for 8 months. And this super genius, this Elon Musk character, is the guy who figured out how to go get them. His company went and rescued them because we can't do it anymore.
He's 100% right there. They were stranded there for months. It was supposed to be a 7-day mission because NASA couldn't get them. So Elon steps in to do that. It's successful. It should have just been a moment that united the country, this moment of triumph. And yet it was barely covered because it helps Elon Musk, it helps Donald Trump.
Well, what I find so funny about these Democrats calling Elon Musk a threat to democracy, they didn't think it was a threat to democracy having a brain-dead president, Joe Biden, for the last 4 years. That wasn't a threat to democracy. Open borders, hundreds of thousands of people pouring through the border every single month, bringing fentanyl, drugs, and crime, MS-13, Tren de Aragua. That wasn't a threat to democracy to the Democrats. All of a sudden, Elon Musk, who has an American-made electric vehicle company. This is the guy they are waging war on. I think all of these people who are burning down Teslas, burning down dealerships, storming dealerships, you all are domestic terrorists. Tom Homan and Kristi Noem need to snatch you up. They need to put you on the planes and send you to Guantanamo. We can send the women of The View to Guantanamo, Meghan Markle, and then also these people who are vandalizing Teslas. You guys can all go together because Elon Musk is trying to find waste, fraud, and abuse in the federal government, right? Throughout history, the person trying to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse is usually the hero, but because he's working with Trump, suddenly he's the boogeyman to the left, Rita.
How complicit is the media in these attacks we're seeing against Tesla dealerships, against Tesla drivers? 61-year-old woman was beaten. I mean, I've shown some incredible footage in recent weeks of just violent domestic terrorism. There's no other way to describe it because these attacks are politically motivated. Do you hold the media at all accountable for some of this behaviour?
So I do hold the media somewhat accountable for this behavior, the burning down Teslas and storming dealerships, because these networks like MSNBC, they're the ones who are talking to these rich, white, liberal, affluent women, and most of them are the ones going and protesting outside of Tesla dealerships. Most Americans, they got to go to work. They don't have time to stand outside a dealership with a little sign and doing a chant. They have to go and provide for their families. So I do hold MSNBC accountable, but they did this for years, right? They called Donald Trump a threat to democracy. They called him a dictator. They called him a Nazi, Hitler, a fascist. They smeared Donald Trump for years, and we saw the horrific repercussions of those smears the last few years.
Now, the Democrats have been called the party of miserable women and weak men, and you've spoken about the beta male phenomenon. Explain to my audience what you mean by that and what that means in the political climate, because we are seeing more and more young men gravitate to the right whilst women are going increasingly to the left.
So I've been talking about this a lot recently. We've seen polls, we've seen focus groups. Tons of men are shifting to the right politically. They're leaving the Democratic Party in droves. They're identifying as Republicans, as MAGA, as independents, as MAHA, because the Democratic Party is unrecognizable. They can't even define what a man or a woman is. So how is that inviting to men? And also, the Democratic Party, like you said, is run by a bunch of beta males. If you look at Tim Walz, he's a beta male. You look at Cory Booker, beta male. Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer. And then you look at the women on the forefront of the Democratic Party, Elizabeth Warren, Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman DeLauro. They are shrill, obnoxious women that no man wants to spend 5 minutes listening to. Men are also tired of apologizing for their masculinity. Men are tired of on the left having to say, I'm so sorry. Was I mansplaining? Was I being toxically masculine? Was I sitting with my legs too far apart? Was I manspreading? Men are tired of this malarkey, this tomfoolery, and it's why they're shifting to the right.
Well, a man who's kind of presented himself as a alpha, masculine, Alec Baldwin, well, after that interaction we saw on the red carpet, perhaps that's not what he is, and there's been more fallout from that Alec and Hilaria Baldwin interaction, that humiliating video. I'm not going to show it again. We know what we're talking about, where she berates him on the red carpet in front of everybody. Now some industry insiders are speaking out, saying that Alec has terrorised movie sets for years, and this is karma. Link, what have you got to say about that?
So I guess this could be some kind of karma for Alec Baldwin, but for all the men out there, listen to me. If you choose to procreate with a woman who is insane and crazy and has multiple personalities and thinks she's from Spain when she's from Boston, don't cry over spilled milk. Don't cry for me, Argentina, when things aren't hunky-dory at home. So Alec Baldwin, he knew what he was doing. He had 7 kids with Hilaria, even though she's really Hillary from Boston, okay? She's from the Spanish coast of Boston, I guess. So if you go to bed and have 7 kids with a crazy woman, don't cry over spilled milk. I have no sympathy for you. Alec Baldwin, you made your bed, lie in it.
That is harsh, but you know what? I cannot get over this fake Hispanic accent and forgetting English words when she's not Hispanic, she's not Latin. Where is she getting this from? Before you go, how is Hollywood in general coping with a second Trump term? Is the hatred for all things Trump as deep as it's been in the past? Are they finally realising it's probably not a good idea to alienate at least half the country, or are they too set in their ways? Are they disregarding the box office and focused on their activism?
So I do think there is a little bit of a reckoning and a wake-up call happening in Hollywood. You kind of have to hit them over the head with it. They really have to have some big flops to come to terms with the fact 77 million Americans voted for President Trump, right? Republicans, MAGA, they have buying power. They have purchasing power. They go to the movie theaters. They are not going to put their money where their mouth is for a project that denigrates everything conservative values stand for. And that's what we've seen in Hollywood. Hollywood has gone so woke. They've gone so left. They've gone so progressive. They tried to denigrate the nuclear family in this country. So I think unless they start embracing these Republicans and 77 million Americans who voted for Trump, they will continue to fade into obsolescence. Like we saw with Sound of Freedom and some of these films the last few years, there is money there. Republicans will go to the box office, but the movie has to be good and it has to speak to them.
Yeah. Yes, and he can't patronize and just be ticking boxes. This is what we are seeing with so many productions, whether it's TV or movies, where they have to have the DEI checklist completed before they actually worry about whether it's a decent product or not. Link Lauren, it's always a pleasure. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Now it's time for the Golden Age. Elections have consequences, and yes, it is the beginning of the Golden Age, all right. The latest figures have just been released, and they show that the Trump administration has resolved the illegal immigration crisis. It's no longer a crisis, with the numbers crossing illegally at the US-Mexico border falling yet again in March, hitting a new record low. Just 7,000 crossed illegally. Remember, we were seeing 200,000 plus a month under the Biden administration. The March data is a 94% reduction from the same time last year, March last year. Department of Homeland Security agents call it the Trump effect. One DHS source told the New York Post, migrants are scared there are consequences now. Everyone who is caught is charged and does time. Remember when the Democrats and their propaganda arm, the bulk of the mainstream media, claimed that it was impossible for Biden to fix the problem he created? I remember.
Republicans keep saying Biden doesn't need Congress. He can stop what's happening at the border all by himself. Can you fact check that for us? Because we here all know that's not true.
Republicans have been saying, largely wrongly, right, because saying that the president can close the border unilaterally on his own. The president actually doesn't have the authority under law to do that.
There's only so much President Biden can do with executive action, and he did try to do whatever he could.
They actually are doing everything they can.
The president's hands are tied. There's only so much that he can do.
President Biden has issued certain executive orders, but there's only so much he can do within his purview.
What an intractable problem this is for the president, with no easy solutions.
No easy solutions here.
There are no easy solutions here, folks.
The president insisting there's only so much he can do without Congress.
How much can actually be done quickly without Congress acting? How would this happen without the power of the purse, without Congress getting involved?
They need Congress to act to fix the broken immigration system.
This cannot happen without Congress resourcing this.
There's only so much a president can do with his pen and his phone.
Turns out it wasn't an intractable problem, and there was an easy solution. All you needed was a new president. Joining me now is comedian and host of Primetime with Alex Stein on Blaze TV. Alex, we were told it can't be done. European countries have achieved little in the way of stopping their illegal immigration issues, but Trump, within a matter of weeks, had this issue under control.
I mean, Rita, it's such just a laughable proposition to even say that the President of the United States of America, the Commander-in-Chief, is not responsible for protecting our borders. That's basically his main responsibility. But these people had to just do whatever they could to try to sell the Biden presidency as being a success, when in reality it was the worst presidency that we possibly could have had. And I think, looking back, it was actually great that Joe Biden won the 2020 election, because now we can see how bad things were. And we can see how effective Trump truly is with fixing things. So, you know, it's just ridiculous what these people want to say when it comes to Joe Biden and the comparisons to Donald Trump. It's just a night and day difference when it comes to the direction that this country's heading.
Now, this week we had the Trans Day of Visibility, and you decided to mark the occasion by attending a protest in Texas. You were blasting the song Dude Looks Like a Lady, Dude Looks Like a Lady, and yeah, not surprisingly, it took around 5 seconds before you were attacked.
What is going on? All children to get free gender reassignment surgery! Kill yourself! Ban transgenderism and stay effective! Look at this! You want to fight? You want to fight? Yeah, I'm so scared. What are you going to do?
Alex, I may be jumping to conclusions here, but I don't think they were happy to see you.
No, Rita, it's a cliche you say a lot. The party of tolerance and acceptance is not very tolerant or accepting when it comes to people that even try to have the same viewpoint. I went there to try to, I guess, be friendly, and obviously I was joking, I was being sarcastic, but as soon as I stood up and I had the boombox playing Aerosmith, they knew what was going on, and they immediately got violent. And I really feel bad because I was there with the cameraman and my girlfriend, and they threw coffee on her. They threw water on me. And I'm trying to go there, and this is a very tense situation. I go there, and I try to have, I guess, a different angle. I try to be funny, or I try to be, goofy. But in reality, these protests are getting dangerous, and there's more and more of these protests, Rita. So I'm happy that this didn't actually get much worse than it really was.
Well, yeah, he got a bit willing there. There was a bit of argy-bargy, and I'm not sure whether you should be taking your girlfriend to these little projects, Alex. We need to have a talk about that off camera, because I'm never going to have you married off if you pull stunts like this. Taking your girlfriend to a Trans Day of Visibility protest, no. Now, let's talk about Super Bowl champions, the Eagles. They're looking forward to their White House visit, a very different response to what we saw back in 2018. Let's hear now from Eagles coach Nick Sirianni talking about how honoured he is to be invited.
No, I'm really excited to go. Yeah, what an honor. What an honor to be able to go to the White House. Teams that have been winning the championship have been doing that for a long time, and I'm really honored to go and really excited to go.
Alex, things were very different back in 2018 when President Trump, during his first term, rescinded his invitation to the Eagles after they showed great disrespect by saying that they were only going to send a small delegation. The whole team didn't want to go. It's quite a backflip.
I mean, to say the least, it's a huge backflip. But when you look at Pennsylvania in this last election, I would have not have thought that they would be in favor of Donald Trump. Everybody thought that that was going to be, such a, nail biter, but it wasn't. And so I think that people of Pennsylvania are willing to say, look, I love Donald Trump. I like Donald Trump. Nick Sirianni, this is his second championship, I believe. So he's a great coach, and he's out there speaking for the fans, not just the players that might be mad, that might not like Trump. This is for the fans of Philadelphia that not only voted for Donald Trump, but love the Eagles. So I'm happy that they're going to go and make this right. And they ought to. It's ridiculous. Even if Joe Biden was in office, every team that wins a championship, especially football, the most important sport here in America, you go to the White House. It's tradition. And I really don't like these teams breaking from tradition.
No, and I think that's where we're seeing the cultural shift most strongly. I think when it comes to Hollywood, when it comes to so many parts of the entertainment industry, they're still completely divorced from reality and just on this anti-Trump campaign where they alienate half the country. But the sporting teams, Alex, seem to be realising that it doesn't pay to upset your fan base. You've got to actually either be neutral or just accepting of people's different viewpoints. I'm not saying we're there yet, but there seems to be a bit of a shift.
Well, Rita, now you were playing this all year long. All of the NFL players are doing the Trump dance every time they score a touchdown or they sack the quarterback. So, we've had a big shift, and now it's cool to be a Trump supporter, and I'm happy to see it. Now we're the cool kids, Rita, finally. They used to alienate us, but now it's cool to like Donald Trump, and we were doing it before it was cool to do it.
Well, if you want to be a rebel, you have to be conservative. I mean, that is just the way it is now if you're a young person, because the groupthink is so much the other way. We have to check in now on Will Smith, Alex. He went from being arguably the world's biggest film star, winning Academy Awards, among the highest paid stars in the industry, and then this happened.
Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Well, the weirdo Hollywood crowd gave him a standing ovation shortly after that when he won his little award. But the rest of the world were pretty appalled by his antics, and he had this massive fall from grace. That was 3 years ago now, and he's now launched a comeback, a musical comeback.
feel like I'm just getting started. They tried to finish me. I'm like the universe, infinite. There's no end in me. This is the bounce back. Watch Will, y'all. This is the bounce back. Here come the bounce back. Keep your eyes on him. This is the bounce back.
Okay, Alex, is that a song? Is that a comeback? Or is it, I don't know, do we intrude on a therapy session?
Yeah, it was definitely a little therapeutic what he was talking about. I think he called it lyrical lemonade, but you know that we're in a simulation because now Will Smith is cussing in his freestyle raps. I would have never thought that that would ever be possible because he always said that he doesn't have to cuss in his raps to sell records. But when it comes to Will Smith rapping, Rita, this is a good sign. This is going back to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air days, the Men in Black days. There was a time when Will Smith truly was the A-list funny powerhouse rapper, actor, dancer, and I hope he can go back to that. You know, he had a horrible fall from grace. His wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, very unlikable, if you ask me personally. So I actually like to see the revitalization or the revolution or the, pivot of Will Smith's career. I'm excited to see it. You know, will it be a success? Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. His music was actually underrated, I always thought, in the past. I'm not sure about this one, though. Now, before you go, we've seen activist students behind violent protests deported, but the problem runs deeper than the students. Look at what this academic, the chair of the English department at the University of Wisconsin, Eau Claire, look at what he allegedly did. Flipped over a table set up by college Republicans at the university. But Alex, despite what we're seeing in that particular footage, we are seeing sanity prevailing at a number of universities that are abandoning their DEI programs. Tell me about this shift. I mean, they're being forced to do it, but seeing the University of California walk back from DEI, well, that's got to be good news.
Well, Rita, I go to a lot of these college campuses, and really these kids could care less about DEI. It's a lot of the faculty. And a matter of fact, when I do these debates, oftentimes the faculties are the ones that come over there, and they don't necessarily, I've never had my table flipped, but I've had them say flippant remarks to me, and I've had them say, get a life. So it seems like the teachers are the ones that are doing all the indoctrinating. So to see these programs go by the wayside, God bless them. That's great. We don't need them. But I think that is a real problem. It's not necessarily the students. It's actually the administrators and the faculty.
Of course, that's where it starts. Alex Stein, thanks so much for your time tonight.